I'd like to begin by asking, would you consider washing dishes, if done in a certain way, to be art? And whether the answer is yes or no, what do you consider to be art? You might have already guessed it, but I thought of this question as I was washing the dishes, and back then I was trying to figure out different ways of doing so. Basically mixing up the order in which I was washing them, and I was noticing that I was actually having more fun than usual, and by usual I mean none. But this had me thinking, are there any other techniques for washing dishes, and do people have a sort of way that would make washing dishes even more fun? When the word art comes up, we usually think of paintings, sculptures, basically anything you can find in an art museum. And if we're speaking of what's relatively modern, then animation and photography could be included too. Literature, poetry, songs, music are all forms of art, but we may not consider them to be art, at least not to that extent. And to be clear, that's not wrong. Everything I've mentioned is art, but is art all them? I think one of the issues in our definition of art is that it is quite limited. I mean, when we think of art, we usually think of something we can see, something we can touch or feel. And while that is, again, true, it's not really complete. It is true in the sense that this makes art more meaningful, more touching. But is that all? Now, the fact that art has evolved throughout the years certainly doesn't help when we're trying to look for a definition, but it doesn't hurt either. I think one thing we can agree upon, however, is the fact that art is a product of us and of our creative mind. And if we see art this way, then I think we can also agree that art does not necessarily have to be a thing. And I echo American author Albert Hubbard's words as he says, art is not a thing, it is a way. Although one thing I would change is that I would say art can be both a thing in the traditional sense and a way. And I think we see art this way without even realizing it. I mean, whenever we see a beautiful pass or goal in a football game, or the teacher using the chalk on the board in a way so satisfying, we may instinctively say, damn, this is art. And I think if we see art this way, and if we expand our view on what art really is, I don't see why it would be too unreasonable to consider washing dishes the way I was doing them to be art. When we limit art to one definition and we limit what it is or what it can be, we really restrict our own creativity, the very thing that allows us to create in the first place. And if we do that, we confine our vision and we can restrict ourselves from appreciating what surrounds us, because what surrounds us from things and doings is art. Thank you very much.